Google Hangout for the first time. This is sort of a dry run. We will be expecting other people to be popping in and out, especially the son of a bitch Andy, who's probably right now chasing a ghost, or if no one not him, he's probably chasing some hot chick's skirt. But hopefully he'll be in sometime during the night. But right now, of course, we have the incomparable Lance Moss, and we have Joseph Knight from the CWA guys. So how are we doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. Just trying to figure these bugs out.
All
Yep,
right.
I'm doing pretty good, Rick. Thanks for inviting me.
Now, Joe, we talked a little bit about Billy Corgan signing with the TNA, and you kind of had a little bit mixed feelings about Billy Corgan jumping in with the TNA. We talked a little bit about last week, and you seem to think that Billy Corgan is just going to be, be all violence. He's going to bring more violence to TNA, and even though he had a violent, already had that super violent company with his own wrestling company, don't you think he've already learned from before and say, hey, let's try something different?
Again, the reason he left his own company was for the same facts that his partners thought it was too gory, too extreme. And if you look it up, it pretty much says that, there was a lot of negative reviews regarding that. So, and Billy Corgan loved ECW. During the last couple of years at ECW, he was there. He was swinging his guitar, hitting people. He was in the extreme. So, if he didn't learn then and he didn't learn when he started his own company, I don't think it's going to change at all. My personal feelings is I think Dixie's just using him as another name. It's not because of his experience, because his experience is it's very limited. But she's just using him again. Here's the problem. Using another name person instead of building up her talent. It's not going to work.
All right. And Lance, your thoughts?
Well, the whole using a named person, I consider that to be like if you brought somebody like, I don't know, Slash from Guns N' Roses and had him be on screen most of the time. That would be using somebody, at least to me. I think Billy's going to stay backstage 99.9%, if not 100% of the time. And it can't get any worse creatively than TNA already is.
Well, with me, I'm going to be honest. I don't know much about Billy Corgan musically or even wrestling professionally. I've heard of the Smashing Pumpkins, but it really wasn't. I mean, I believe it or not, I like heavy metal, but Smashing Pumpkins was a little bit beyond my taste per se of music.
Honestly.
So I know very little of the guy. Do I think so? I can't really make the judgment call of what he's going to do. I mean, we've seen TNA bring in all styles of wrestling. We've seen them bring in Vince Russo, Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, all others, from bookers, and it's just nothing's helped because the simple fact is that she doesn't want to listen. What she wants is all these people to come in and say, come in and fix my idea and make my idea better, and you can't do that because they have their ideas. So she has to listen to their ideas and say, this is what we can do for you, and the fact is she doesn't want to do that all the time. So I don't want to keep on going on another TNA rant. We seem to do this week in and week out. It's really getting boring for even me to listen to. I'd like to move on. We heard that Chris Jericho over the past couple of weeks has had this huge announcement, and it seems to be coming out that Chris Jericho could be coming back for yet another WWE run. Chris Jericho, every time he does seem to come back to wrestle so far, doesn't seem to be looking bad. So, and he does tend to push over the younger talent, so I think it could be a good thing. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Oh, it is a good thing for Chris Jericho because he does like what you just said. He puts over the talent. He helps out with with the Performance Center, I read that he actually goes there and helps out. And along with his podcast, I mean, it's a big plus. How long is he going to stay? I don't know, but I'm hoping that he stays long enough to maybe give a rub to someone. You know who I would like to see? Chris Jericho actually team up with Dolph Ziggler. I think the experience of Jericho and the abilities of Ziggler will make a great tag team. So I hope he does do something in this capacity, and maybe give him even a tag title run, because we all know the WWE tag situation, it's not looking good right now. When we have the New Day as champions, there is problems.
Wow. So, Lance, Ziggler and Y2J tag team champions. Can you see that?
Well, yes, because they're both influenced by HBK. If you can see in both their styles, that would be a good high-flying tag team in a tag team division that is sorely lacking in talent. Like Joe said, the New Day is tag champs. The hell. And like he also said, Chris Jericho actually puts people over, unlike some talent that keeps coming back that just needs to get their dick sucked, basically, by the crowd. Like Dwayne and Brock. And, let's face it, brother.
Well, we'll get to Hulk Hogan in a minute. There were rumors over social media today about Vince McMahon after a Reddit user who saw Vince come out over the post-Raw Pat Patterson Appreciation Night segment expressed concern over Vince's vision. One of the rumors was that brought up via a fan questioned his latest episode of Wrestling Observer Radio, but Dave Meltzer said that he had heard the rumor and would ask around about it. According to WWE, they shut down the rumor, simply saying we confirmed the rumors that those rumors are false. I don't really know what they're saying. I guess they're saying that Vince was looking in bad shape. Has anybody else really heard that much about this? I heard about the Pat Patterson Appreciation Night, but I did not hear that much about Vince McMahon. Joe?
I actually have not heard anything from Vince for a long time. The last time we saw Vince was on the cover of a Muscle magazine, and that was pretty much it. Is he in seclusion in a way, like just staying really out of it and letting Stephanie and Triple H run it?
I know that he's been staying off. I know he's been staying off camera, but I didn't know if there was anything apparently to his health. So that's what this news is suggesting, but WWE is clearly shooting it down.
You know what? I will have to say, and it's probably been proven, Vince has taken steroids before. Maybe he's, probably feeling the effects of steroids now. Maybe he's probably not doing well, but I don't see him being severely ill or anything, because let's face it, the man is well taken care of. He has a body that men his age, will be envy. So, like I said, I really don't know. I never heard that rumor, but I think Vince has always been really the genetic jackhammer, so I don't see him, really being out there saying he's sick. So, I don't know. I just don't think it is true.
Okay. Lance, your thoughts?
Honestly, I hadn't heard about this. I mean, I don't even know. Are we talking about Vince's vision for the future or his actual eyesight?
I think it was his actual physical demeanor.
Well, we haven't seen Vince on Raw for a while. Then again, they kind of killed off the Vince McMahon character every once in a while. So, hell, I don't know. This is the first time I'm hearing about this.
Well, I guess WWE is now even cutting out the Seth Rollins, curb stomp. We've been hearing the rumor about how they've been kind of stirring him away from it, and now even when they were replaying the WrestleMania replay victory, they even cut out the curb stomp. I still don't really understand why they feel the need to completely distance themselves from the curb stomp. I understand that they're PG, but this curb stomp has been part of the PG era for several months now, since since Seth Rollins came into the WWE. Lance, do you feel that this is kind of overdoing it, or do you feel that something changed?
Absolutely. I think it's overdoing it, but also I think it's WWE's way of saying, oh, little kids are going to be jumping on each other's heads and shit like that. But it's just overdoing it because they've had those "do not try this at home" ads for years and years. They just need to know, okay, kids going to be idiots. Let's just face it, kids going to be idiots. They're going to try to do stuff that they see on TV. It's just their parents' job to say, okay, little Johnny, little Jimmy, don't be doing this what you see on TV. Is it some kids just gonna be idiots and try this shit, and they're thinking this is the easiest thing for them to copy, so they're trying to separate themselves from that. But yeah, it's something that don't need to happen, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Now, Joe, you as a booker, excuse me, you actually have other wrestlers who do all these crazy moves, and you have families who come in to to watch these moves. How do you talk to your fans, or do you have any kind of messages, or you just hope that the parents take care of this?
No, what we do is before every show we say, kids, do not. These are trained professionals. Do not try this at home. And we encourage, and we also say it. We encourage the family, the parents, to please remind their kids that these are trained athletes. So, we kind of put that out there before the show begins. So like that, it's already said, it's done, and but like this, it also covers us legally. That's the main thing. It covers us legally because we already spread our message to the families. These are wrestlers. Let them do it. Going back to the curb stomp, I'm going to say exactly what I'm going to agree with what Lance said. Kids will mimic anything. I remember growing up and people will put on sleeper holds on each other and actually knock somebody out. Pile drivers, DDTs. Kids will mimic things. How many kids have done the, you can't see me, or the rock bottom or something? So, banning the curb stomp, I think it's a good thing, because if someone does it wrong, they can snap a person's neck. What if they're not aiming for the head and they're aiming for the neck? So, I think WWE is just trying to curb back on really excessively dangerous maneuvers.
All right. And I think that's really where the issue is. And the problem with the WWE, they're too busy with too much of the PR bullshit. Pardon my French, guys, because, we are not rated PG, guys. We are rated R. So if you have any children here, you might want to get them out of the room, because we do tend to swear a lot, and a lot of adult content here. So
shit, fuck, hell, ass, titties.
Yeah, pretty much. And we want to give a shout out to Bubble Needs Views. So Bubble Needs, thank you for being in the show. Sorry, this is pretty much our dry run of In the Moment. So we're not ignoring you, and we welcome you into the show. Bubble Needs Views says, I heard the curb stomp has been banned because of the concussion hazard. Although there's been a lot of concussions in the moves with the WWE, has been having a lot of concussions lawsuits lately, and that is a factor. There's been a lot of concussions, but there are so many other moves. But let's be realistic. It's a contact sport/entertainment program. What's going to happen when other moves start doing it? Look at Roman Reigns' Superman punch. What are they going to do? Ban that? You cannot continue to ban moves. And it's just going to make this show much less entertaining, and people are going to just start looking towards MMA. They're going to start looking to boxing. They're going to start looking to other forms. And, I grew up watching wrestling since I was a kid. And when they start watering down wrestling, it becomes less enticing. You watch NXT, where you can do whatever you want, as much as you want, and then you come up to the WWE, says, well, now you can't do this. And we would like to welcome in Monday Night Jaw, and it's just not a fun thing to really talk about, and it's just one of these problems in the WWE that I don't think they're really looking at. I think it's just a problem. So we're going to get on to one of our main topics right now, which is last night on Raw, we saw that the Dean Ambrose defeated the world champion Seth Rollins in a non-title match to enter himself in the main event of Payback. So, Joe, I want to ask you, is this a setup for Rollins to walk out Payback for the WWE title?
You know what? He'll probably walk out with it, but I think this is a definite sign that they're running out of contenders for Seth Rollins. To throw in Dean Ambrose and to throw in Randy Orton, to throw in Roman Reigns, like remember, Rick, I said before, I think there's something going on that they're probably going to test out in this match to see how well the fans take to the Shield members actually being all together and against one another in a match. I predict if this really looks good and the fans get a huge pop out of this, I can actually see the Shield reforming and turning against other people. So, you know what? I actually believe that can happen.
You know, as much as I know a lot of fans would mark out on that, I got to disagree with you. I don't see the Shield getting back together because, for one, it's going to make Roman Reigns look weak. You know, especially after what happened at WrestleMania. You know, he laid down for Seth Rollins, and then he's going to lay down for Payback? It just doesn't make sense. It's not a viable option for him because it's going to make Roman Reigns look like a bitch. And it sometime down the line, would it be nice? Would it be cool? Yeah, and I know a lot of the Shield Mark fans would absolutely freak out, but no. It wouldn't make sense.
Well, you know what? I have to disagree because after WrestleMania, Seth Rollins hasn't really done any. Roman Reigns haven't done anything. He got into a war with Big Show, which is, you know, a guy that's really, come on now, I think he's well past his welcome at this point. Dean Ambrose is kind of floundering. You know, he was in the big Intercontinental title picture, and now he's another one. You know, both him and Reigns have been given pushes, and I would think Ambrose has more of the he had the more fanfare, but they both floundered. And here's Seth Rollins, who really didn't do much, you know, walking away with the title. So I think these guys can probably say, hey, you know what? Us all working together is beneficial than us working all separately. But time will tell.
Well, let me ask we have a couple of people in the chat room. Do you think in general that they've lost faith in Roman Reigns, or do you think, Lance, what do you think? Do you think the WWE management has lost faith in Roman Reigns, or do you think they're just going to go in a different direction?
I honestly think, WWE likes to tease pushes sometimes, and it just depends on. Let's face it, Vince was extremely behind Roman's push. Do we know if he's behind it now? Well, the thing is, he's back in the title picture, so he's still getting somewhat of a push. About this whole this whole Payback thing, I personally think about the reason they put Ambrose in there is not because they're running out of opponents for Seth Rollins. It's WWE kind of like giving the fans what they want. I hate to say this, but the intelligent fans, wrestling intelligent fans, what they want, but just modifying it just a little bit. I've heard Dream Match is the triple threat match with the Shield. All the Shield members. We're sort of getting that, except for they're throwing Randy Orton in there. So that's just my take on it.
I think Randy Orton is just pretty much the X factor, and yeah. I think they didn't really know any other way to put it. But I still say that somewhere down the line, they probably are going to have Seth Rollins. In my opinion, if they're going to have Seth Rollins get out of this, he's going to weasel his way out of this, and I think they want Roman Reigns to get that victory one-on-one. He needs to have that clean victory so he can go on to SummerSlam and face Brock Lesnar, who will eventually
and
win
then
his
get
title.
killed.
No, I disagree. I think he's going to beat the Brock Lesnar because that's what it was looking like. It was looking like that he was going to beat Brock, and then that's where Seth Rollins came in and slithered his way in. If you think about it,
Yeah.
since Seth has won Money in the Bank, he's get his wins by just sliming his way all the way through, and that's the kind of champion they're making him out to be. It's like, yeah, I won this match, I won this way on my own, and even everybody's just getting pissed around him, and I think it's just going to be eventually he's going to alienate everyone around him until he loses that title. So that's my thoughts. Even Bubble Needs says, I think the WWE, seeing that the fans are about Reigns, have waited for his push, but I think that he'll gain the title at the end of 2015 or in 2016. Possibly. It's again, they might be able to wait until want to push Reigns, maybe until the next WrestleMania, and that is another possibility.
Just don't have him win the Rumble again. For the love of God, don't let him win the Rumble.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to win 2 Rumbles back-to-back. That would not make sense. That would not be viable. The same reason why they didn't want to give Daniel Bryan the same Rumble back-to-back, because it's just they have to give somebody else that push. And it really,
Yeah, let's face it. What the situation with Roman Reigns is, the WWE came up with this great idea. They were going to move all the titles around. That's why they moved John Cena out of the world title picture, then they put him in the U.S. title picture. That's why they took Daniel Bryan out of the world title picture and put him in the Intercontinental title picture. They wanted to bring some fresh faces to the main belt. And as we've seen throughout from the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, fans didn't really take well to Roman Reigns. They just look at him like, oh, well, he's just getting it because he's related to The Rock. Same thing with the Usos. They got where they are because they're related to the Rock. It comes to this point that, as you've seen from WrestleMania to now, Roman Reigns has gone straight down. Dean Ambrose was very hot. He was in the Intercontinental title picture. He looked like he was going to win it, and then they moved the belt onto someplace else. So these guys really haven't had their niche yet. And I think and especially in business, since I run a promotion, the bad guys have always made more money for the company because you, our fans, are paying the tickets to see this bad guy champion get the tar and feather beat out of him. You want to see this guy just get beaten up, and each time he weasels out of it like Seth Rollins is doing, we become more angry. Like, okay, no, next time we're going to see him get beaten. And he's finding ways around it. That's what's saving Seth Rollins' career. He's probably going to be known as a forgettable champion because his title defenses are very opportunistic. I can't say it.
Opportunistic.
Thank you. Give that man a Cupid doll. But we come to that point where Seth Rollins is just making it by, and each time he does, he's playing the great heel because we're all waiting to see who's gonna take it, who's gonna take the belt. If he manages to pass by this pay-per-view with the belt intact, then expect to see him and Brock Lesnar next. And as bad as a mismatch that sounds, you could probably see everybody and their mother getting involved in that SummerSlam match with Brock Lesnar and Brock killing everyone and just winning the belt back. So I don't know. I don't think Reigns is going to get it. I think Reigns is going to get the belt probably later on, probably before Survivor Series or after.
Well, Billy made a good point. A good friend, WrestleGamer from WGS TV, is in the chat room, and he actually made a very good point that Stone Cold Steve Austin won the world title. Won the Royal Rumble back in '97 and '98, and I think that was a rare exception because Stone Cold Steve Austin was very, very hot, and he was extremely over with the fans, and it was also a different time and era. It's back then, of course, I'm referring to the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Do I think it could happen again back to back in that point? I think even with Daniel Bryan, I don't think it would have worked because I think the WWE is so stagnant and they need to really push new talent that they would not have said, okay, fine, we're going to push anybody back to back twice. Again, like you said, it was 97 and 98. That was almost 15, 16 years ago at least, and that's, so to not they're realizing that they cannot do that again. Back then they had so many people. They had the Undertaker who's in their prime. They had HBK who's in their prime. They had The Rock who was coming up, Austin who was coming up, all this other talent who was coming up, and of course they had WCW to contend with, which was a contendant. So
Rick, if I could just chime in on this, the reason you're seeing professional wrestling so stagnant today, okay, and it's not just the main companies, it's even down to the indie companies. And I speak for myself. What we're looking at is, and basically the WWE is the Mount Fuji of wrestling. It is the biggest mountain in the world, and it says, hey, guess what? We're the dominant force. We could throw in 2 chickens and a monkey, and probably a coyote, whatever, into the middle of the ring, watch them all fight, and fans will pay for it.
exactly.
And it's because there's nothing else. I know we're not going to go into TNA business, but like I said, TNA is on its way down. It's been passed down. It's a Titanic. It's already everything is underwater, and the captain's just standing on the edge of the bow. The water's up to his neck. So in this situation, they don't really need to do much storylines, and the talent is. I think in my opinion, you see the talent that they currently have are just happy to be working in the WWE, collecting a paycheck, and being known worldwide. It comes down to their promos. You see how lack of charisma they have. Some of them do have it. Many of them don't. The creative team's decisions. Wrestling is very stagnant, and it's not as covered as it used to be during the Attitude Era or even during the 80s, the glory days. So I think trying to make new talent, I think it's becoming more difficult for the WWE. And these young guys are really getting hurt too, trying to take things to the next limit. Daniel Bryan, is going in and out with injuries. You've got now Sami Zayn. He's another one that's going out. How long are these young people going to do these death-defying spot monkey moves and shorten their careers? I think that's why the WWE's in sad shape. And sooner or later, they're going to have to realize, well, we got to do something else. We're going to have to start either bringing in talent faster or raid TNA for its talent, which maybe if you give them a nickel raise and a bologna sandwich, they'll probably be happy to come over.
Okay. Before we get to our main topic, I'd like to chime in on what Monday Night Jaw said. Ambrose in the world title picture makes 0 sense. What his win-loss pay-per-view record in the last year or so, super terrible, give or take. Has to be another angle involving Ambrose. And Jaw, you know what? You have a valid point. But I don't think that Ambrose is going to walk away with the title. I think he's just a filler, so to speak. So that's just my personal thoughts. I don't think he's going to walk away with the title, even if it was a one-on-one. I think they gave him that win just to give him the push so he has the right to be in the Fatal 4-Way. But if the title does change hands, which I don't think is going to happen at Payback, it's going to go to Reigns, if anybody.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts.
Personally, I think Reigns is just. Ambrose is just in there to do crazy shit.
Yeah, and
which is his niche.
Yeah, and at the moment, I don't think Ambrose is in the middle with any feud, so I think that's another thing. They don't know what to do with him at the moment.
Well, and Rick, like I said, this is a perfect opportunity. Both Reigns and Ambrose have lousy records. They got the push, and they're very stagnant. Fans, you're going to see the Shield reform, and you're going to see Reigns and Ambrose team together and become tag champs. I make that prediction.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to which is our main topic of the night, which is who should or could retire in 2015. And Some people is going to agree with us. Some people is going to say, "What the fuck you talking about?" And so let's get on with it. The number one on at least our list is, of course, The Undertaker. Now, I want to say first off, I have nothing but respect for this man. He is the best. He is a legend in our mind. But over the past couple of years, he has just not been that great. The last real great match that I think he's had in my mind is WrestleMania 25, and I would just love to see him come out and retire. If he has to have one last match, it's got to be with his brother Kane, and I'd like to see those two get inducted together as the Brothers of Destruction. Does anybody else here would agree with me, disagree with me?
Well, honestly, I'll see the Brothers of Destruction getting inducted a little bit later on down the road. I see Taker going in by himself. I think he's earned that right for as much work as he's put in with the company. And retire. Honestly, I see him retiring next year because, well, I mean, I'll give him the luxury of retiring in his home state, having his last match in his home state.
All right, so in Texas. Yeah, that would be a nice send-off. Joe, do you agree, disagree?
You know what? Taker is kind of in a retirement. He's in semi-retirement. We don't get to see him for, what, once every year?
Yeah.
So I think he is in semi-retirement. So I think he's a smart man. He comes back just for the paydays, and that's it. I think he's already retired.
Okay. See, but for me as a fan, I just think that it's like enough is enough. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of the marks may be pissing. What the fuck are you talking about? You don't know what go fuck yourself, and that's fine. But for me, as much as I love it, it's just again, I would rather just see him on meet and greets or have him come out once a year, like even a couple times a year, just saying wave his hand and say, "Hey guys, what's up?" or do a cool promo. But the wrestling matches are just they're hard to watch for me. I'd like to go over to WrestleGamer. As he pointed out, Daniel Bryan is close to retirement because of his injury problems. And again, this is something we've talked about on this very show, guys. Daniel Bryan not looking too good. He had a 9-month injury, had to give up his world title due to his neck injury. Came back, won the IC title, and then was pulled from the UK tour and has been out, and we haven't heard a peep from him since. No real updates. I've kind of did a little bit of research. Still nothing. It's not looking good, guys. I wish I could say it was, first we thought it was a ploy for like my sympathy ploy. I'm really worried about Daniel Bryan, and he could very well retire this year. Joe?
Absolutely. I think Daniel Bryan should retire. He's a young guy, yes, but your health is more important than title belts. He could be a trainer in the performance center. He can work behind the scenes. I think he should retire because this was a legit injuries. It wasn't something that was a storyline. No, he had legitimate injuries, and if he doesn't take the time and stop, he's going to find himself in a wheelchair. So definitely, I think Daniel Bryan should retire.
All right. Another one that we talked about is possibly Kane. I know that Kane when he first came in, he was this big red machine. He was this monster, and they kind of have watered him down to, I don't know, looking like a bitch. He's taken a lot of falls. I don't know. It's like even the finger punch of doom is looking a lot more admirable than what he's been doing. And I'm sure some people will say, you don't know what you're talking about. I would like to see him retire and go on his merry little way. Anybody, please, in the chat room, agree with me or disagree with me? Joe or Lance, please chime in. Lance, I'll give you the first swing.
About Kane, the Big Red Machine is full of rust. I mean, yeah, I know he's from my home state and everything, but it's time. Well, I think he has a little bit more gas left in his tank if they do use him right, which I highly doubt they will. But Kane, Glenn, retire. do indie spots every now and then, but just run your insurance business in Knoxville.
All right, Joe, your thoughts.
Definitely, Kane should retire. We've seen too much of him. They've lost so much. They don't have nothing else to do with him. Here's a guy that had the mask, off the mask, on the mask. His best years were with the mask on and with the big red suit. Now I think he's just floundering. He's just there just to collect another paycheck. He should retire, and then he's another guy that you can put in the back to work with.
And Josh says, I'd like to see him valet and manage the bellas in front of the camera, retire from the ring action, but still do run-ins and interference or whatever, and behind the scenes coach young guys.
I hope he's talking about Brian.
I don't know if he was talking about Brian or Kane. Either one that would probably suffice. But as a trainer, I think it would actually work out.
Yeah.
I think that Kane. I know that Kane is actually considering when he's done, he would like to go into politics, which is probably why he got out from behind the suit. From behind the mask and started wearing the suit, because he was. That is the whole purpose. So. Would make sense. A lot of people didn't get that. To me, it's understandable. So, I want to come out in a suit, tie a beard, and clean dog authority for it. No chance. Okay, I don't know if Joe was talking about Brian or Kane, but either way, okay, oh yes, Brian. So, if we wanted to talk about somebody else who should retire, let's move over to TNA for a second. What about Kurt Angle? Now, Kurt Angle, he got inducted into TNA's Hall of Fame, and then he was going to move over back to the WWE for his, Legends contract or his Hall of Fame contract, and they just didn't want him, so he decided to go back to TNA and re-sign with them. And Kurt Angle has got a bad neck. He's, in his late 40s. I honestly think this is time for him to, hang it up. Again, Kurt Angle, phenomenal wrestler. He's done it all. He's got great mic skills. I would have been happy if he had just stayed as the general manager of TNA and been on the on-screen talent that way. But for him to go back to wrestling and win the world title again was, for me, pointless. It made no sense. Why he has to continue to wrestle and still, it's just one of these wrestlers that just can't seem to walk away from the spotlight. Joe?
I disagree with you, Rick. The reason they have him working and winning the world title, because one, he is a name. Even though he's not much of a big name, he still is a name. TNA is trying to bank on, hopefully, him as their champion can keep their company afloat. Plus, it's probably written in his contract. Remember, WWE flat out said no. They didn't want him. Well, Triple H said no. So he probably wrote into his contract with TNA, hey, make me the world champion, give me a amount of money, and I will stay. So there's so many possibilities. Should he retire? Absolutely. Like Daniel Bryan, he has neck injuries. How long can Kurt keep going at a high performance level that he likes to do? He's not going to last long. So in his perspective, he should retire and at least have the dignity to say, hey, you know what? If I'm going to make the final thing, I'm going to throw one more overturn to WWE. Say, guys, can I please come home? Put me give me the Hall of Fame. Let me do a run-in or host whatever general manager spot, anything, and then retire. So he needs to go back to the WWE and then retire.
I agree with that, and even Bubbles Need Views said that Angle should kind of head back to the WWE and win the WWE title, and the WWE even clearly said, we don't want you. So not only is it not viable for him to head back to the WWE, but for him to get the WWE title is like no chance in hell, no pun intended. So, Lance, over to you. Your thoughts about Kurt Angle?
Well, honestly, I understand why he's still going, because in one form or fashion, he's been wrestling most of his life, whether it be a high school level, college, Olympic, professional. I don't think he knows how to handle life without wrestling in some form or fashion because it's so ingrained in him. But with all due respect to Mr. Angle, yes, you're an Olympic gold medalist, but your body is breaking down, man. It's time. And the reason I think that the reason I heard why they put the belt on him is because Destination America wanted them to.
Well, Destination America also wanted to get more views than they had on Spike, and look what happened. They only got half or a tenth. But moving on, another person who I think should retire or could retire is possibly even Big Show. Now, Big Show, again, another guy who's had a great career, but it's just starting to look really bad. Do I think he's going to retire this year? Probably not. I think he's going to get a few more years before he finally decides to hang up his boots. Do I think he should retire? I guess this is more we're just now being picky and kind of bullying here to make conversation. To be honest with you guys. But you know what, Joe? I know you like picking on the Big Show, so I'm going to let you take a swing on this one.
Yeah, the big loser. He's done so much throughout the years. We've been kind of force-fed Big Show lately. The man, and here's a guy who's another Andre the Giant, and instead of making him a brutal monster, going out punching everybody, taking over the many title scenes, they make him into a wimp, and they give him people who shouldn't be able to beat him. So when you've done all you can with the man, and there's nothing else, you can't give him a title shot, you can't give him a tag title shot, you can't give him an Intercontinental US, because we've seen every time he gets a belt, somebody else beats him rather easily, from Rey Mysterio, Alberto Del Rio, and the list goes on and on. Personally, he's another guy. Could work in the bank as an ambassador, do a couple of work in the office as meeting with sponsors and all that. The guy's very intelligent. It's just right now he needs to step away from the ring. He's been in it for too long, and there's nothing else we can see him do that's going to make us interesting. Unless we do Dinner with Big Show, watch the big man cook with Gordon Ramsay. He needs to do something else.
Well, Monday Night Joe actually had a good question. What's the life expectancy of guys these size? And do we know? And I think we talked about this because we also talked about wrestlers like Andre the Giant and compared to the Big Show. And they were always compared. And I believe that Big Show actually had a similar operation to kind of stop the growth at an early age.
Yes.
So I believe in his situation, he probably has a little bit longer of a life expectancy as opposed to Andre, who I believe, when did Andre pass away? Or how old was he when he passed away?
He was still relatively young. I think he was like early 60s or something
50s,
like that.
60s, yes. So I could actually see Big Show.
But you know what? But here's the difference between life expectancy and career expectancy. When you are a professional wrestler and you get into the business and you're doing a lot of the going around in the scenes, and when you're finally major in a big company like the WWE, Big Show's a perfect example. He came in fresh. They made him into a monster. He was beating everybody. He's won belts. After, 10 years or more, I think he's already worn out his welcome when people scream at him, it's time for you to retire.
Yeah. And Andre died at 46.
Oh, there you go.
Wow. I was way off.
So, you look at this, it's a situation right now. We're looking at career, expectancy. So we already got to the point where Big Show is well past his welcome. There's nothing else the man can do. And once you had a wrestler who's done it all, and especially a big man like him, it's very difficult to keep putting belts on them, because the more you put a belt on them, it's like fighting a concrete wall with a little straw. You're not going to knock it down. But in the case of the Big Show, they give him little guys who knock him down. He's the big redwood that gets chopped down constantly. So that doesn't, it really kills his career. So a big man like Big Show, Andre the Giant, Bundy, Kamala, these guys relatively have like a short history in wrestling, because you can't do much with them. After they've done it all, there's nothing else left. So yeah, Big Show should retire. And again, he's a good guy for being an ambassador.
Yeah. Something I've noticed mostly post 2000s Vince likes to do is take these big behemoth men, first bring them in as big vicious bastards, and then turn them into just jokes. Even later when I remember, Brodus Clay was supposed to be a big badass son of a bitch, and then they turned him into Funkasaurus. They turned Mark Henry into sexual chocolate. They turned Viscera into some fat love machine. Khali into a big dancing clown. And show foolish once during the Attitude Era and once now. And let's not forget about Kane, what he did with that whole thing with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. Well, I think there's one other person that, I'd like to talk about, at least, and it's still a question about Sting. Now, again, Sting, he had a great match at WrestleMania 31. He's had an illustrious career, and the question is, will he retire, this year, or is he going to have another match? And I still think he's got one more match, at least one more in him. The question is, and I'm not really sure as to how much, more he's got left after that. Is he just going to wrestle just to be inducted? I really thought that he was going to do this one and done and move on, but I don't think that he's going to wrestle in WWE only to lose and just be inducted. Joe, your thoughts?
Well, Sting is another Undertaker. He's in semi-retirement. He's not a full-time wrestler, so he's another one I consider semi-retirement. Right now, Sting, you say he had a great match at WrestleMania. Yes, he did, but look who he had a match with. The egomaniac who really stole the show with his entrance and everything. He came out as a Terminator while Sting came out with some Chinese drummers. Sting has, I would give him 2 more big matches before he should really retire. Do I see him going against The Undertaker? Absolutely. After Taker's last match, which he impressed me incredibly in WrestleMania with Bray Wyatt, the man has one more match, so him and Sting could click it off. Sting needs to cement his legacy before he retires. He hasn't done it yet, so he needs to do that before he retires. So 2 more matches for Sting, then retire.
Well, you know what? I think we're going to wrap it up there, because there's so many other wrestlers who could go in so many other. And again, Billy agreed. The Wrestling Gamers entrance made no sense, and again, Jaw also highlighted that WrestleMania was terrible. WrestleMania had a few key matches, but it could just it had some good matches, but overall the WrestleMania wasn't. It wasn't the granddaddy of them all. Yeah. And you know what? We want to thank Monday Night Jaw and, of course, Bubba Needs Views for joining us on this opening event of In the Moment. But of course, you can always catch the replay here over on YouTube, and that's youtube.com/HWR Show. And you can always find us on Facebook.com/Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Joe, where can everyone find you at?
Well, fans can find me at Facebook.com/Joseph Knight Manager. You can also find the CWA on Facebook as well. Facebook.com Classic Wrestling Association. You can also follow us on our website at classicwrestlingassociation.com.
All right. And, of course, we have the incomparable Lance Moss, and you can find him at youtube.com/Lance Moss TV. Lance, what do you got going on?
I got album reviews, NASCAR discussion videos, redneck gourmet cooking videos, musical equipment reviews, some redneck gourmets coming up. I think I might have already said that, but the archives of controversies and scandals, and hit me up on Twitter. It's at Lance Moss TV.
All right. And last but not least, I would also like to thank the Wrestler Gamer who is hanging out in our chat room, and you can find him over anywhere on WGS TV. And you can also find him on Facebook, YouTube, and all other places. Billy, thanks a lot. Oh, for right now, this is the hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.